Should the New Orleans Pelicans start building around Brandon Ingram with the injury concerns around Zion Williamson? Me and JB, we're going to break it all down, talk about that, and what the Pelicans should do going forward right after this.
Thank you for tuning in to the number one place for your daily basketball fix, NBA Central, hosted by the one and only CEO Haize.
All right, JB, we in the building. The prodigal one is back. So this was all predicated by the fact that Zion Williamson has technically been cleared for on-court activities, but he's expected to still maybe miss the rest of the season, which is just weird. And while Zion, when he is on the court, is one of the best players, I think, in the NBA and one of the most difficult players to guard, you have to realistically start when you plan for a team and build a team. You have to, with him taking into consideration his injury, how many games he's expected to play. The Pelicans at one point this season were fourth in the Western Conference. They're right now, currently slated to be outside of the play-in, even though they won 2 in a row. They're 5-5 in their last 10. JB, I'm going to throw this to you. So I had this thought and thinking about all this and saying that the Pelicans have some talent on their roster, and they have a player that I'm extremely high on in Brandon Ingram, who's a versatile player, can do a lot of things. And my question I'm throwing to you, should the Pelicans start building around Brandon Ingram, not meaning getting rid of Zion, but should he be the player that they build around, just because so far in their NBA careers, he's a way more durable player and still a hell of a talent himself? What do you think, JB?
So I agree 100%. I think Brandon Ingram is the guy they should censor around. Don't get me wrong. Zion is a phenomenal player. Probably one of the most dominant players, if he wants to be, since maybe Shaq. I'm going there. Problem is, it's when he's on the court. And that's a big if and when. And he's just proving to be not durable, unfortunately. I mean, listen, we've had so many great NBA players in the past that could have made such a big career for themselves. For some of the young heads who probably don't know, Penny Hardaway. I mean, Penny Hardaway could have been easily probably one of the top 10 players in the NBA history, I would say, if he stayed healthy. But unfortunately, things happen. Grant Hill, a lot of guys, injuries succumbed. And
Grant Hill's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's the same situation with Zion Williamson. By stats, though, their career, or let's not say career stats. Let's talk about Brandon Ingram for the time he went on the Pelicans to Zion coming in the NBA. Their stats are outside of field goal percentage. Their stats are not that far off. Zion has the edge in field goal percentage. Ingram has the edge in 3-point percentage. Everything else is pretty similar. But again, we go back to that durability, and it's Brandon Ingram for me.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think anybody in their right mind, there are some haters, is gonna doubt what Zion is when he's on the court. Like, he's amazing on the court, and that I don't want to take away from that. But over the course, keep in mind, he was drafted in 2019. Since 2019 to this point, he's averaging playing 38 games a season.
Yeah,
that's just not going to cut it. Like, unfortunately, right? And so just because of the durability, until he proves himself to be way more durable than what he has been so far, it's kind of hard to build on that. Like, and just with the same averages, and Brandon Ingram himself has had injury concerns his career, right?
Correct.
But Brandon Ingram averages playing over 40 games per season, almost 50, a little bit over 50 games per season. So it is what it is there. Like, you have to try to put your team in the right situation. And the way that I look at it is this: because of Zion's game and the physicality of his game, if you build the team around Brandon Ingram's skills and kind of just bet on him being there, it's not like Zion can't fit in any lineup in the NBA. Let's be clear here. The way that Zion goes about getting his shots, the way that he is around the rim, he's going to get his shots regardless. So,
yeah, and I just looked at the numbers real quick. Now, keep in mind, he missed the whole season. But if you take all the games Zion has played, divided by his 4 years in the league, he's averaging 29 games a season. Again, he missed the whole season, so it's a huge number a little bit. But that is a first-size player. I mean, talks about this is the next LeBron, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not seeing it. And don't get me wrong. Again, when he's there, he's a great player. But it all goes back to the durability. And I got to say, man, just real quick, talking about that 2019 class, because I remember the lottery. And I was begging to the gods, please, can the Knicks get the number 1 pick? Please bring. And Zion wanted to play for the Knicks too.
Yeah.
And we did not get it. We got number 3, and I was so pissed. But looking at things now with what's going on with Zion, with Ja having his issues, I'm okay with number 3. I'm okay with number 3.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is there. I can completely understand that. And it sucks because you see like Zion, Lonzo Ball, who's on my team, like these players that just have so much promise, and when they're on the court, they're just about everything you want them to be. But it's just not the ability to stay on the court is hurting so much. And there's so many things surrounding Zion and the excitement of him even playing in the preseason this season and him being the healthiest that he was. And Zion just has proven he cannot stay healthy. And that doesn't mean he can't have a hell of a career. One of the defaults to go to when you talk about an injury-prone career but still have a great career is Bill Walton, who absolutely had a great career. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but he was injury-plagued whole career. Go ahead.
Can you name somebody past 1990 like that? And the only reason I bring that up is because, and not even 1990, maybe 2000, because the style of play is so different now, bro. Like,
I feel you.
It's sort of fast paced, and I don't want to say it's more aggressive because the 90s were way more aggressive than this. And it's like shooting threes, and it's just a lot of different stuff nowadays versus Walton's days.
True. I mean, off the top of my head, nobody comes to. I'm sure there's somebody out there I'm just not thinking about. But it's still, I think I look at it this like the physicality, like they're better physical specimens, but it's not like they were fighting back then in Bill Walton's days. So it's not that much anymore. So I mean,
we could maybe use Kevin Durant. I mean, he had
Kevin Durant could be one with that, but I mean, then again, he was pretty healthy up until, and then he had that Achilles, and it's been up and down. Kawhi too, Paul George, those are guys you can look at like currently who deal with a lot of injuries and who haven't been able to stay healthy. Yeah, maybe that's about it. I'm sure people in the comments are gonna be like, "Haize, Jay-B, you guys miss XYZ," but
I'm sure,
yeah. When you look at the Pelicans, right, and how they were last season versus this season, and I don't know if you want to say they took a step back or whatever it is, but how do you view that Pelicans roster? Do you think they're a Zion staying healthy away? Do you think that they need to go heavily into this offseason looking to do some different things? Like, where do you see this team as far as what they need to do to really try to get in? Got to make baby steps first into that play off area where they can have some serious playoff success.
I honestly think, bro, with a healthy Zion and a healthy Brandon Ingram, at worst, this is a round 2 team. Forget about playing. I think this is a round 2 team.
That's fair.
Team with both of those guys ball, both healthy. Absolutely. Are they a championship team? No way. Even with both those guys healthy, no way. They're missing at least 1 or 2 pieces. But to consistently make that playoffs, as long as both those guys stay healthy, even with the team that they have now, they will consistently make the playoffs. Those 2 guys have enough talent to push that team. But they're several pieces away from any sort of title contention or anything like that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That or elite. Like, don't get me wrong, Brandon Ingram's been great. But if Brandon Ingram makes like that superstar leap to like one of the best players in the NBA, then maybe you can look at that. But yeah, like you said, they're a player or 2 away, a Zion healthy away. But I like their roster. Like the Pelicans are a team that when they were fully healthy, as close to fully healthy as they were going to get, I enjoyed watching them play basketball. But the health is the biggest concern with that team right now.
Exactly. They're really all their players are healthy. They're a fun team to watch, man. And keep in mind, they play in the West. The West is so damn bipolar. I mean, really it's really up for grabs for a team to take it and run with it. I know Nuggets are like the number 1 ranked team or whatnot, but I feel like any team can come out of the blue and take it. Any one of those. I mean, as long as they stay healthy, the Clippers, the Pelicans is really up for grabs. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they should move on from Zion Williamson. It's too early in his career, and you want to give him a chance to see what he does. And you know what, bro? I just realized something. Talking about somebody coming off an injury, but that can still generate something for their team. And this is probably a bad example this season, but please take this season out. Derrick Rose. I mean, Derrick Rose was playing great basketball the last couple of seasons with the Knicks. I know his time got taken away now, but he came off a brutal injury and still doing his thing. He did things with the Wolves, did thing with the Knicks. He was still part of the team.
Really revitalized his career in Minnesota, being a 6th man there. Absolutely. And one injury prone player that we completely missed on, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, but he's just. I mean, I call that dude street clothes. That's
Oh,
I don't call him
I
Anthony
call him Mr.
Davis.
Glass. Yeah, he's just
Yeah, he's street clothes, man. Street clothes all the way. Like I
bro.
would
Like
not.
I literally looked at his injury report. Like, hey, he has I think he's like second in the most injuries. Like, do you know that he missed 2 months of basketball with a butt injury?
Wow,
It's just crazy, bro. Like
it's
it's wild,
absolutely
man.
ridiculous, bro. Like I would not want Anthony Davis on my team for
Oh
nothing,
no, and
bro.
people, because he's from Chicago, people are always like, "Well, he can come back to Chicago." I'm like, keep Mr. Glass Davis up off my team, please, because a Chicago winner, his leg would fracture the moment he steps outside.
It's like one of them Oscar moments. You about to slap somebody. You say, "Keep Anthony Davis out your mouth."
Please do,
I feel you.
please
Yeah.
do. But I mean, anything left with the Pelicans or like? Well, here's the question. We say let's talk about it. What type of team do you think the Pelicans then need to build, whether it be around Zion, whether it be around Brandon Ingram? I think bringing in CJ McCollum really helped that team get to another level. Do you think it's one of those situations where they need some solid? They have Herb Jones, who's a really solid defender. Can do some things there. I like Valderrado coming off the bench for them and what he is defensively as well, the guard position. Do you think that their target in the offseason needs to be shooters and two-way players, or what do you think they need to try to bring to that team?
You literally just said it, bro. Shooters and two-way players. That's what you need. You need some D. Go and get you a 3-and-D guy, because obviously with how Zion is so dominant,
Yeah.
he's going to get doubles and triples. So you need those shooters to take advantage of that. Again, they got CJ McCollum, great shooter. They got Brandon Ingram, great shooter. And that's what I'm saying. That team is a playoff team when everyone's healthy, but they're still missing one or two guys. And you got a 3-and-D guy in there, or a two-way player and a good shooter.
Yeah.
Now you're talking, Western Conference Finals type stuff.
That's a fact. I guess we'll see what it means and how it's going to be for this team going forward. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Zion too. I like Zion. I do think that him being in New Orleans and the beignets get to him. You need to stay from the beignets and gumbo. But other than that, I really do like Zion as a player. I love Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, to me, I know I'm super high on Brandon Ingram. Like, I think Brandon Ingram is going to be one of those players that he's going to keep steadily improving, and he's going to get a title or two. He may not be the best player on the team when he gets those, but I look at how, like, he's the modern day forward in the NBA. He's the
100%.
prototypical modern day forward. He can put the ball on the floor. He's solid defensively. He can shoot. If I had to say anything, Brandon Ingram needs to work to have 2 or 3 post moves. If he does that, it's going to open up the rest of his game.
Yeah, 100%. And a handful of players I just love watching play ball because they do it so good. And Brandon Ingram is one of those guys. From the moment he came on New Orleans and he was away from the Lakers, where he's sort of like behind the shadow, and he came to New Orleans, man, this dude has shown what type of player he can be. And I think he's only going to get better, bro. I think he's only going to get better. And yeah, at the end of his career, he should have, because at some point, someone's going to be like, yo, we need that last missing piece. And Brandon Ingram is that piece to be a title winner. And I think at some point he's going to win a title. Yeah, Zion Williamson, sure. I can't say yes or no if he's going to win a title, honestly, because again, it goes back to the durability. He stays healthy. Zion Williamson will win. The Pelicans will probably win a championship sometime in the next, I would say next couple of years. Because let me tell you something. The NBA has gone through spurts for the longest where there's one team that just dominates. Yeah. During these last couple, maybe 8-10 years, it's not necessarily a team. It's usually whatever team LeBron's on. LeBron's gone in 2 years. This whole NBA is wide open. I don't think, at least for any time soon with the current roster, there's going to be a team that just dominates every year, like how the Bulls did in the 90s, or, the Rockets for a couple years, the Celtics, Lakers back in the day. That's done. At least with the current roster we have now, with the players, that I don't see that happening. It's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, this was the year of parity. It was like the buzzword this year, and it was real. Like, parity around the NBA was a real thing. And I think as long as you have that level of parity, there are going to be teams that are always going to be able to convince themselves they may be closer than what they are, and thus they hold on to their stars. And the play-in tournament is a big part of that too. I think we've seen now that the play-in tournament's been here for a few years. Having that play-in tournament to where teams that are in the 10th, 9th, or 10th spot do have a chance to actually turn that around and make the playoffs is going to keep teams, not necessarily aiming to be 9th or 10th, but saying if they do fall in the area, like, hey, we can go out and get a couple of free agents this offseason and maybe we end up being the 8th or 7th seed. And I really do think as we look at parity and how that the play-in is a big part of like why teams are going to hold on to their stars now. Whereas before, if you finish the season as a 10th seed 2 years in a row, you may be looking like, hey, maybe we need to go full rebuild. So
exactly, like you're 9th or 10th seed, like back in the day. That's it. Maybe, like you said, rebuild. But now you're 9th, 10th seed. Maybe at the trade deadline, you pick up one more piece. A team like I know the other episode we were talking about like teams that might surprise or teams that might fail, but we completely forgot to talk about Miami. Jimmy Buckets, you know him from Chicago. Yeah. Those guys, they have a very talented team. Buckets. Jimmy Butler, Hero, Bam. They have a really good team. Those guys make the playoffs. They can make a run. They see the Celtics or 76ers in the first round. They can make a freaking run. And if they make the playoffs, they'll probably go in as like 7th or 8th seed, maybe.
Yeah. That's a good point. All good points. I mean, we'll see. The NBA is fun. This offseason is going to be fun to talk about. I'm glad my brother Jay-B is going to be here with me to break down shit going on in the offseason. But hey, and if you got nothing else, Jay-B, that's it for tonight, brother.
I got nothing, man. Till next episode.
Till next episode. You guys can follow him at the P1JB. You can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow the show collectively at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. If you want to send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. But that's it for us. We'll see you guys the next time we make a video, whenever that is. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.